Hello everyone, hope you all are doing well. So in this session we will discuss upon the market structures related to healthcare and why we don't really have a perfect market condition in terms of the healthcare market, and under which circumstances we move. Generally these circumstances prevail and we move towards the market imperfection. So what should be the ideal condition, market condition in terms of healthcare market? So these ideal market conditions, if we think of in terms of a healthcare market, then there will be 5 to 6 points which directly comes to our mind. So the first point should be, so if ideal market conditions, we are talking about the healthcare market only, so it should be the marketability of all goods and services. I'll change the color. All goods and services. This means whatever is being produced or whatever is being supplied, they should be marketable. So the the quality, in terms of the quality, in terms of the accessibility, it should be marketable. And every single individual who are supplying or who are providing the healthcare services, they should also be accessible and providing the same quality of care to everybody. So otherwise, if they are not, say some particular product is so outdated, so it's not marketable, so it's not a perfect condition. And then the second one is that a particular doctor is so poor in terms of his treatment or her treatment that nobody prefer to go to him. So they have a very bad reputation in terms of a doctor, in terms of a clinic, in terms of a hospital. So the marketability is of all the products or the services are not generally ensured. So this is not an ideal market. So in an ideal market, every single healthcare provider or healthcare product supplier or healthcare product should be marketable. Number 2 is demand certainty. There should be a regular demand which is predictable. That means the healthcare providers have clear idea that what is the number of patients, patient footfall in a hospital or to a doctor, what kind of diseases are happening or prevalence of any particular disease. They really don't consider if there is a certain weather calamity, some tsunami or some major accident. So or even if that the proportion of affected people is not really very large, so that the demand changes in a massive way, so the markets don't function really accordingly and at their best of their level. In that way, in a perfectly ideal market condition, the healthcare providers should have a clear idea about the demand from the or for the health services from the patients or from their potential customers. The third is supply certainty. Customers or the patients have clear idea about the medicines, about the vaccinations, about the doctors availability, different kinds of doctors availability, about the the diagnostic facilities around, about the insurance schemes, the coverages of insurance schemes, and they know that when I require that, all these facilities are around me, I can avail them. So there is the supply certainty. So when we are talking about supply, it's not essentially be the number, because in the first point we have talked about marketability of all goods and services. So even if the supply is there and then the quality is compromised, in that way the supply certainty is also being compromised, because even if the supply is there, being the product or the service of poor quality, nobody is interested to go, so they have lost its marketability. So the supply certainty not only talks about the quantity, it also talks about the quality of the services available for that particular population. The next is avoidable risks. Yes, this avoidable risk means that whether people, both the suppliers as well as the consumers, know that how I can avoid the risk, or how I can get away from a particular disease, or from a particular healthcare adversity or health adversity. So this is from the consumer's point. From the supplier's point, they also should know that how, in terms of the services, how the service failures can be avoided, so that if the service failure can be avoided, then this quality is being ensured. The quantity, in terms of the demand, is being ensured, that they know that if my reputation is not being hampered by a certain casual mistake, then probably I will certainly get I have a clear idea about my demand, so the demand really doesn't vary much. Yeah, they have retained their market. So, or they have been improving, so they know that I will be improving. So it's like that. So avoidable risk can be avoidable. So the people have the knowledge, have the idea about the operations, have the knowledge about the markets from both the demand and supply perspectives, have the idea about the future. So so they know that what will be the best optimal decisions to avoid these kinds of risk, which actually lead to an uncertain demand and supply, and then inefficient production and inefficient consumption. And there is no such problems in terms of that moral hazard or an adverse selection, after avoidable risks, because when we talk about avoidable risks, we talked about the quality idea, about the quantity. So here we will, so in a perfectly competitive market, when we talk about an ideal market condition, we will, that perfectly competitive market gives us an efficient output, right? So to attain that efficient output, because when we talked about 6 building blocks, universal health coverage, we talked about quality a lot. So it's all about accessibility, affordability and quality, right? So and people should have understanding about the quality, about the services they are being provided, right? So when we talk about the services, so it's like customers' ability or the consumer's ability to test the product before consumption. Yes, and it also leads to avoid the risk, because once they are into the system, they cannot. So the customer's ability to test the product before consumption, even if they don't have an idea. I go to a sweet shop, they can say that, okay, you can taste the sweet, and then you can take. So just taste one sweet, a supplement, or you want to go to get some namkeen, get some achar, so they will always, offer you 1 chamach of this. Yeah, because you don't have probably the clear idea, and you have the ability to taste the product before you consume, before you buy, because healthcare is often an irreversible one, right? Or if I have made a wrong choice, I have made a wrong decision, and if the treatment is wrong, it has a negative impact. So my health stock may go down, my health cost, status may go down further. Yeah, so that's really not nice. So the number 6 is information symmetry. So everybody has a perfect information. Everybody, both the supplier as well as the consumer, have the the consumers often do not have any idea about what the suppliers are providing, what the healthcare providers, because the doctors are God, and then whatever the doctors say, we follow that, right? And we really don't know that what is the motive behind that, and if there is a uncanny profit motive, right, business motive behind the decisions they are making, and we are the guinea pigs. We really don't have any idea. And secondly, the doctors should also know that what the information the consumers, the patients are providing to them, they are right. it can be the doctor, it can eventually be the insurance. If you remember, in insurance, the adverse selection, right? So when the insurance companies want to go for the cherry picking, yes, they want the healthy ones, and then somebody tells, I have always been healthy, I have followed all healthy habits. So they make an adverse selection. And even if there is no adverse selection by the cherry picking, there is a death spiral, right? So this information asymmetry is not really an ideal market condition. So in an ideal market condition, I have information about the hospitals, about the diagnostic center, about the medicines, about the doctors, so that I make my best choices. When I make my choices, that is based on my demand, is based on my utility, right? My diminishing marginal utility determines my demand curve. So my utility, my satisfaction will be best derived when I have my information. Similarly, the doctors, when they have idea, or the hospitals, when they have idea, or when they know that the consumers, or when the insurance companies know the consumers or the customers are providing them the best or correct information, then their decision making, their treatment process, their policy sales are on an efficient way. So there is no wastage, So that is another information symmetry, is another condition towards the market efficiency. The next one can be no price discrimination. That means all the consumers are being charged the same price, no price discrimination. Yes, all the consumers are paying whatever the rich is paying, the poor is paying the same. What the what you are paying in a for a particular hospital, you are paying the same in another hospital. So there is no price discrimination basically for the same product. Yes, and if there is no price discrimination, because often we don't have idea, because in a perfectly competitive market, there is no product differentiation. If there is no product differentiation, logically there cannot be differential price, right? And when there is no, again, market fragmentation, no segmentation of the market, so there is no point that why there should be a price discrimination. If there is no societal objective behind this price discrimination, that I will keep the price lower for a certain population. But that's also not right, because whenever we are in an ideal market, in a perfectly competitive market mostly, then there is no profit, no loss context. And if a person is producing or supplying in a lower price, there can be two issues. One, they are making losses. Yes, and then the other, even if they can draw all the customers towards them, the others will also lower the price. Again, that will be distributed, and everybody make losses, so the price will again go up. Number one. Number two, then there can be one condition, because as there is no product differentiation, the lowering the price may make a sense that the quality of the product is degraded. Right, that will send a message like that. Otherwise, nobody giving the same product, or same quality product, will really not be able to decrease the price and sustain in the market. Yes, so eventually there is no price discrimination possible or allowed. The eighth one, or the last one, that all the suppliers in a market have a profit motive, a very important one, that if they have a profit motive, how they can earn it can be an ideal market, right? Because if there is a profit motive, everybody would like to be a price taker, price setter, not a price taker. Everybody would like to differentiate based on their product. Now, a very important aspect in terms of healthcare, when we talk about why they all want to be a profit, they will have a profit motive. First thing is that The healthcare market, in most of the cases, if not Cuba or something like that, most of the cases it's a mix of public and private. If it's a mix of public or private, even if there is private clinic, they may be paid by the insurance or some government agencies or by the government. The private clinics or the doctors are their price setters, and everybody will have they are rational by nature, so they have a profit motive. So this starts with the economic concept of rationality. So they are rational, so they have a profit motive. Right now, healthcare market is fragmented. It is very, very heterogeneous, and the product differs from places to places, population to population. The services differ from places to places, to population, and therefore, often we have found it's not very easy to quantify a healthcare product. So often we have found the service or the goods or the commodity, healthcare commodity, if we can consider as a single good or single service, they still are different in terms of quality. Yes, and if there is a differential, even they may not be a perfect substitute. They can be little close substitute, like we have seen in monopolistic competition. They can be close substitute, but then there is little chance, even if little chance, for these providers to set their own price. Yes, eventually in the long run we have seen that it can come down. The demand curve finally becomes tangential to average cost curve, where the price and then the cost, average cost, and then the price are at the similar point, right? So there is no profit basically in the long run, but in the short run they have a profit motive. Thank you.